So again, I'm going to be reading from my notes because I still haven't learned to read scripts and memorize them, and even though I write them, it's just, yeah. So here we are. Why buck the trend? So this is the book we're going to be taking a look at today. I will show you some clips of that right now. What if Beowulf was more than just a tale of monsters and heroes? What if it held clues to a forgotten history, one that shaped Northern Europe before the Viking Age? It's important to know that the book was written in the early 8th century, 700 something, set in the early 6th century, and the Viking Age didn't start until the attack on Lindisfarne, which was 793, sorry. This is a little book. How many pages is this book? It's tiny by comparison. It's 127 readable pages. So it's not a particularly big book. It won't take you very long to get through, but it's packed, filled with information that I found absolutely fascinating, especially the legend of the Lejre, which is a mead hall. They found remnants of it. It was burned to the ground in Denmark, and they think that maybe that was the inspiration for Herod. So let's get on with this, shall we? So in this book, renowned scholar Tom Shippey, this is another Tom Shippey book. Did I do the review of his? I did do the review of his translation of Beowulf a little while ago. I'll link to that up there somewhere. So in this book, renowned scholar Tom Shippey challenges us to rethink everything we know about Beowulf. Far from being just an old English fantasy, Shippey argues that the poem offers real historical insights into the Scandinavian world of the 5th and 6th centuries. Sure, the case for Beowulf as history. For decades, scholars dismissed Beowulf as a legend, especially after J.R. Tolkien's famous 1936 lecture, Beowulf, the Monsters and the Critics, which is an ongoing series of videos. I've got the last one coming out on Friday, so that'd be a 4-part series. Again, I'll link up there somewhere, I guess. Tolkien argued that the poem should be studied as art, not history. He did the lecture 2 months after he sent the manuscript of The Hobbit off to the publisher, so he had skin in the game to get people to want to read stories about heroes and dragons and shit like that. But Shippey believes that Tolkien's influence led scholars to ignore something crucial: the historical stories woven throughout the poem. Over 70% of Beowulf isn't about fighting monsters. It's about real kings, warriors, and power struggles. It is, when you get to the end, once he's been killed by the dragon, spoiler alert, it's just huge, just pages and pages of just talk of the past and of kings and of Sweden and Denmark before you even get to the burial. There's a lot of that. I'm currently going through the Seamus Heaney version and writing up a kind of scene list. I've just gotten to the point right before Grendel's mother attacks, which would be considered the second part of the poem, and I've already got like 56 scenes, so it's taken me a while. Could these details reflect actual events in early medieval Scandinavia? Maybe. Hygelac was detailed as dying off the coast of Frisia while attacking Frisia, and there was a fella in 530 who had the same name and died in the same way, so I think a lot of it is taken from history. And I saw something today. A fella thinks he knows who Beowulf was based on. It was Beornwulf. And because Beornwulf was succeeded a year after he died by a fella named Wiglaf, like the end of Beowulf shows us. But I kind of feel like that Beornwulf was a century too late. I feel like the story was made long before he was around. Shippey draws on recent archaeological discoveries that suggest Beowulf may be rooted in reality. Sites in Denmark, Sweden reveal mead halls burned to the ground, like the Lejre that I mentioned earlier, matching the poem's description of feuds between rival clans. Professor, I'm going to get this wrong, Frans Herschend of Uppsala University points to evidence of a power struggle among early Scandinavian tribes, echoing the poem's stories of shifting allegiances and royal conflicts. Why was Beowulf written in English? But here's the mystery. Beowulf was written in England, not Scandinavia. So why would an English poet even care about Danish and Swedish history? Shippey suggests that the early migrations from Scandinavia to England brought these stories with them. I've mentioned this in videos before, and that's pretty much how I think the stories came over here, because there's just too much by way of pagan culture, the old Norse culture intertwined with everything, even though there's a lot of God talk, a lot of Christian talk, but you couldn't really go on about all the pagan gods and pagan culture in 8th century England, because not good. Over generations, these legends evolved into the epic poem we know today. Shippey's book breaks Beowulf free from the fantasy label and places it where it belongs, in a crossroads of history, legend, and archaeology. So I mean, we've had, and I'm going to do the last part of the 1936 Tolkien Lecture on Friday, where he tells us to ignore the historical aspects and just concentrate on it as just a narrative poem, a story to be told. I tend to want to agree with both. I don't see why we can't have both, you know. Why not? Why be completely beholden to just having one aspect of this poem? There's enough to go around, man, come on. If we're fascinated by medieval history, Viking area archaeology, and the epic stories that shaped our past, Beowulf, The North Before the Vikings is a must-read. And it's quite short. I can't even remember how much this cost me, to be honest. It's got a fucking sticker over the price tag there. Dipshits do that all the time. It wasn't expensive. I mean, it's only 130 pages, so worth the money. Quick read if you're into this sort of thing. I highly recommend this. It's Tom Shippey. I love the guy. So what do you think? Is Beowulf just a legend, or is it a window into the lost world? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you click away, because, you know, this tea is really hot. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you next week.